So PJ pay 800 ringgit a bus a day to Prasarana to operate the service. With the KPI is I want the bus every 15 minutes. With this, suddenly the operator changes their mind frame because I need to run the bus on time to get my full payment. If I don't meet my KPI, minus 5%. Further don't meet my KPI, minus 10%. So the incentive now is I want to run the service well because I want my full payment.
Hey, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of Are We OK Season 2 together with myself, Peter.
Hi, and I'm Rajiv.
Alright, Rajiv. Welcome back to the show once again.
Yes, the last show before Chinese New Year.
Yes, that's right. Any plans for Chinese New Year?
Very laid back.
Laid back, huh?
Yeah, it's always like that for Chinese New Year.
Yeah.
No more meetings. Everyone has gone
That's
quiet work-wise, so it'll be a very laid back Chinese
That's
New
right.
Year.
I think one of the best places to be during Chinese New Year is KL itself because...
Yeah, quiet. No need
Quiet.
to suffer through the jam.
Yeah.
And for all those making your trip back, balik kampung, be patient on the road. I know it's going to be terribly jammed.
I think tonight onwards, people are going to start traveling already.
Yeah.
Yeah, and right after Chinese New Year come back, it's gonna be it's gonna be Puasa already.
Yeah.
So Ramadan is gonna begin, and I think this whole month is just gonna be quite relaxed, moving ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully.
No. It won't be relaxed after Chinese New Year. You'll have hundreds of open houses to go to.
Oh yes, that is very true.
Yes.
Anyway, over the past 1 week, what are some of the most interesting news that have caught your attention?
Well, maybe one of the top ones for today will be what's happening with DBKL. Did you hear what Hannah announced recently?
I've not really caught up with it, but I have to say that ever since she took office, she has been quite quick to go down into the reformation road and start, getting things done, right?
Yeah. So recently, DBKL made a groundbreaking move where they announced that they are opening up all the developer applications on their website for public scrutiny.
Ooh.
And I think this is a groundbreaking move. It also resonates with what Hannah has fought for, advocated for since her early days in politics, for local government transparency. And I believe this would maybe open the floodgates to a lot of public scrutiny for every project that may be coming up, whatever high-rise that may be coming up. It should be available for open viewing. So Peter, being a resident of the Klang Valley, how do you feel hearing something like this?
I think it's fantastic. I think it's fantastic. I'm all in for transparency. But I guess also here is where a lot of developers will need to be very careful and answerable. I think for those of you who are actually trying to scroll through the site, if you happen to look through it, you may see many different names suddenly. Because there are also a bunch of developers that are not public listed. And there are also publicly listed company who has, when they develop the land, they may not use exactly the public listed company name, right? They'll use different subsidiary. Although it's easier to see it from that side usually.
I think the public listed companies, somewhat you can tell.
Yeah.
But I think the bigger thing is it also gives check and balance to the activists.
That's right.
Because you have a lot of resident associations, you've got other activists, NGOs, and I think these are the people who are going to be scrutinizing it more than the general public.
That's
but
right.
it's also open for the general public to go and check it out.
Yeah.
And it also is added scrutiny for the opposition. If the opposition wants to hold more check and balances against the government.
I'm also wondering, right, once this thing opens up, I'm wondering what kind of news will come out because as they scrutinize the past records.
Yeah.
You get what I mean?
I'm not sure if the past records will go on this portal. But I think even if they don't put the past records and they just put the future applications,
Good enough.
I think that's a good start. That's good enough. And suddenly, people like in Taman Desa, in Oakland Road, who have track record of protesting against high-rise developments in their neighborhood and all over KL, in fact, who can, just check out to see that, okay, no one submitted anything recently good. Someone submitted something last week. Once a week, log in and check. Yeah.
At least what will happen is I think last time we have no lack of specially gazetted land suddenly turning into projects, right? Yeah, I think with this, I think the watchdogs will be much more careful about it, and whenever they environmentalists, those kind of people, they will probably pay attention to it to know that when people are submitting it, is there
Yeah.
going to be something going on later, right?
So I think this is an example of reforms that you can do before and not just needing to wait for elections. So yes, while there's a study that we talked about in our previous episode about having the mayoral elections, this is something that can already, these are the reforms that can start to happen without the mayor elections coming into place. And also together alongside this news, I mean, we also had a forum organized by Nick Nazmi, one of the former ministers and also MPs within KL, and a number of NGOs regarding the local government elections for KL. And they are calling for an elected councillors, a councillor system to be set up where, you know, the rest of the country, our local governments have councillors. These are like your MPs at the local level alongside your mayor. And so, Peter, do you have any thoughts on this? Do you want to see like not a, you know, a group of councillors serving alongside a mayor? Or is this something that you feel a bit neutral towards?
Honestly, because for me, this part of the world is a little bit on the black box side. So I think for it to translate to a Raigat's understanding, they have to really know like how does it really work, right?
Okay.
Now, for one, but on my own personal opinion is, I think it's good to do that because it kind of empowers local councillors to actually take more action. Because I do realize one thing is that, like the last time I was trying to get my road fixed, so I called my local councillor, spoke to her, and
Mandy.
Mandy, and I realized that like, sometimes their hand also a bit tight lah. Yeah, not so easy lah.
Okay.
So this is where I do realize that that's where there is that. If the person is a local councillor, doesn't mean that they can push people to get things done, and something doesn't mean that they can immediately get the answer. So, and if local councillors are going to be the main checkpoint for people to get complicated stuff done,
Okay.
then I think that would be good because you get access to administration directly, right?
Okay, so for listeners out there, so Peter went through a difficult process of
Until now it's not solved.
Until now not solved. Difficult process because there's some obstacles in the way of getting the road repaved. And this is where sometimes a councillor can help you, but the councillor is not there to be your consultant.
That's right.
I mean, they end up playing their role as your representative, but maybe if I can take a step back and look at it from the bigger picture. The councillors, as what we see in Selangor and every other state in the country, the councillors play a very important role to approve policy. And the question about policy approval, should it be in the hands of a mayor alone, or should it be in the hands of a group of people? And this is where there's the second group that has come up. So while Hannah has pushed forward a study on bringing elections for the mayor, and that in itself is good. And I think that's very important, and I can't wait for the study to be completed and for us to make some steps towards bringing in elected mayors, not just for KL, but then, you know, for every other city in the country. Councillors play an important function because you shouldn't have policy made by one person, even though that one person is elected. You should have policy made by a group of people because society is very diverse. And so things like, you know, should we allow restaurants to operate 24 hours? Or should restaurants close at, you know, after midnight because it's unhealthy? Should we allow dogs in the park or don't allow dogs in the park? Should we allow pasar malams to continue to grow, or do we want to, you know, start dialing down pasar malams? Do we collect rubbish twice a week or 3 times a week? Do we charge 60 cents for parking or 1 ringgit for parking? Or do we increase parking to 4 ringgit so people, you know, stop driving? So there are a lot of policy decisions that DBKL needs to make. There are a lot of policy decisions that every local council needs to make. And I think having that body, that legislative body of councillors would be very important so that the policies that are made go through some kind of filter. That, you know, this body is like a check and balance voice. So I actually agree with the call for a councillor system to be set up. Whether you want to call them councillors or you want to give them a different name, that's fine. But it shouldn't be just an elected mayor. It should also be elected councillors. And no doubt, once you get the councillor, they will help you with all your difficult problems.
Yes. So Actually, in fact, to add on to the point, if I were to add a comment, would be we shouldn't just have an election for mayor, but also for councillors.
Oh, yes, definitely. So I'm a full supporter of elections at the local council level. You know, for the councillors and for the mayor, have them elected. But I also am a believer of having both. Because by just having mayor without councillors, then it also is a bit worrisome how the mayor would then make decisions. Because everyone has your own view, right? But the thing is, if your own view is your only guiding thing in making policy decisions, sometimes it might be very dangerous.
Yep, that's right.
Very, very dangerous. And that's why all around the world you have parliaments. In every first world democracy, you have a representative body, a parliament of sorts, whether you call them Congress or you call them parliament. You do have that body, and no president or prime minister makes decisions by himself. Yeah.
Yep, I think that's a good one.
All right. So, looking forward to more reforms at local level, and you know what? Let this be a spur of competition. So, you know, open shout out to councillors and mayors in PJ, Shah Alam, Subang, Penang. Let this be a race to see who can improve things for the better. And sometimes this competition is not just in the private sector. You know, government sector also can have competition. You know, see DBKL announce this, people all clap hands. You know, what will PJ announce next? So I look forward to that.
Looking forward. That's under you, Di.
Yes. I've always advocated, and I'll continue to advocate. All right. So now that we have covered DBKL, Peter, I think another thing that was very significant in the news is our base healthcare insurance, the MHIT insurance.
That's right.
That came out in the news talking about how lower premium insurance will be available soon. It's not yet ready for sale, but the teaser has come out.
Yes.
So, Peter, did you hear about this? And what do you think about
definitely. I mean, it's an industry that I pay a lot of attention to, and an industry that I was from, right? So, I think this is a good move by Bank Negara, because what we are seeing right now is that there's a huge medical inflation that's going on. Now, first we have to understand the relationship between this whole medical insurance, hospital, government, and stuff like that. I think initially, for all those who don't know about the policy, what happened is that Malaysia, memang, we do not have enough hospitals to take care of the people. So, but instead of building more and more hospital, government took an approach that allow more private hospital to actually build, right?
Yeah.
And I think at one point, then they made some amendments to allow even more hospital within a smaller vicinity, right? Instead of like quotaing it, like it's gonna be further away, right? Now,
Okay.
and that's why in KD area, you actually do see 2 hospitals just down the road, right?
So for those who do not know, KD is Kota Damansara.
Yeah, Kota Damansara. So there's 2 hospitals just down the road. It's quite interesting when you go to the other hospital, and then you see the signboards all in front was bought over by the competitor hospital.
Okay.
And you go the other side there, you see a big billboard that's of the other hospital,
I did not
right?
notice that.
So imagine you're going to this and you're seeing billboards of another hospital, right? Anyway, to cut a long story short, what happened is that when all they start establishing, hospitals going to compete with each other, and therefore, naturally, you're going to make your hospital more appealing, and therefore births the next kind of hospital, not next kind, but this kind of hospital, where they do charge a little bit of a premium pricing to provide you more service.
Okay.
Right. Now, here's the thing.
Yes.
Where this whole thing begins. Insurance company, when you buy an insurance, you're not qualified in the sense where, like, I ask you up front, right? Hey, Rajiv, when you buy this insurance, are you going to go to this more premium hospital or the cheaper hospital?
You're not.
No one's going to ask you that, right? So it is one rate for all.
Yep.
Now, these are some of those policy gaps that happen that I would say it's hard to foresee, right? Because market movement and so on, right? Now, subsequently, over COVID time, there was one issue where during COVID, a lot of the elective surgeries were postponed. So right after COVID, everyone just went in. So the claim rates just blew. Now, apparently, even at this point right now, many insurance companies couldn't recover it's on losses when it comes to healthcare, medical insurance. And
So overall, insurance companies are spending more on claims than they are receiving in premiums in recent years.
That's right. Now, a lot of people will say that, hey, but ultimately an insurance company, you're still making money. You're right. They are only referring to the health portfolio. When it comes to a health portfolio, they're losing money. Other portfolio, they are making money. Okay? So a health portfolio is losing money. So try to think of it this way. If you are a conglomerate, you have 5 different companies under you, one of the company is losing money. Now, a lot of people say that why not cross subsidy? But here's the thing. It's very hard to force company to cross subsidy, right? So imagine if you've got 5 kids, you have one kid that's losing money, the other 4 are making money, and you say, hey, why don't you eat less so that this fella can have more? I think when government want to start meddling in that, then there is a problem because you're meddling into a business, right? Now, so depending on your philosophy here, good or bad. Now, my philosophy when it comes to healthcare is this. I think healthcare is a very tricky business. It is a business where you're also making money on people's illness. Now, definitely here's where the blame begins, right? Insurance company felt that it is hospitals that's charging too much.
Okay.
Hospital felt that it is insurance company that should be responsible for paying. Now, and yes, in the past that was the model. Why? Because today if you are sick, you go into a hospital, whatever the hospital charge, I've not seen a patient who negotiated with doctor and say, you want to cut me up 50,000? Can be cheaper, doctor. No one do this kind of negotiation. Yeah. And number 2, depending on how urgent you are, you'll probably go and see 3-4 hospitals. If you have time and you're knowledgeable, you may do that. Now, if you're not, what happens is generally you'll just go with the first one. So always advisable, do your second consultation. And sometimes the opinion can be vastly differing just because for whatever reasons, right? I do have friends who go to this hospital, say you're going to cut you up 100,000 in surgery, and they go to another hospital, the other hospital say, no need lah. It's a small issue, just let go, right? Yeah, so differing opinions.
Okay.
Now, for the hospital side, very simple. If today you're in a hospital, when you want to get out, discharge, if you can't get out because the bills are not paid, insurance holds it up, who do you blame? You blame insurance company. Because doctor will come and tell you, is insurance company not paying? Then your thoughts will be, I've been paying insurance. Right now. So insurance company also will have to just faster let you go because I also don't want to complain lah, right? Now, this is where the whole issue began. So one side can charge whatever they want. The other side have to pay whatever they want. And when they pay whatever they want, who do you think they collect the money from? You, my friends, you. Now, and naturally, when the price increase, you blame the insurance company. And insurance company asks you back, then why you simply go to an expensive hospital? Stuff like that. And you're like, I'm not a doctor. So this is the whole issue right now. Okay. Now, insurance premium hike is freeze for 3 years. Yeah. So I think next year or the year after, something like that, is going to open up again. You're going to see the hikes go really fast right after this. Yeah. Now, so Bank Negara came out with this base plan. The idea is that, number 1, it is a simple plan covering up to about 100,000. Again, these are indicative numbers. They are not saying that these are the numbers. They are saying that
what they have teased is 2 plans. One is a standard plan, 100,000 ringgit coverage, and a standard plus plan, 300,000 ringgit coverage.
Yeah. So those are indicative. They are suggesting to you, right? That and is Bank Negara going to do it? No, they are going to invite private insurance to bid for this thing or to do it. And they are saying that this is a range. Now, the key thing they want to build within there is actually price control. And the key thing they want to build in there is price control. So there are a few mechanisms within there that I think could have been explained better. Yeah, which is not. So you have probably seen the article that we have put up here, right? Which is, they say that there are 5 medical insurance that are better than the government medical-based plan. Now, I personally think that that is not exactly true to a certain extent.
So just for some context, that is what portal Code Blue went and dug up 5 comparable plans which they speculate to be cheaper. So these are the 5 plans which already are on sale compared to this hypothetical government plan, which has a teaser but not yet on sale.
That's
so
right.
The final details are still not quite there yet.
So just to share with you guys, the plans there are investment linked plan, and it is under a freeze of premium right now. So you do not know what's the price increase after the freeze ends. It will go up. That's number one.
That's number one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, number two, this is an investment link plan, which means that it's not a standalone plan. You got to buy a base investment link to attach on it. So although it says that it's 80 ringgit, but you need to plus. And usually, investment link plan, there's a minimum entry amount, about 100 ringgit
Okay.
minimum a month. Now, and are there any price control measures? That's the next question, right? So I think there's a lot of questions left unanswered, but a simple presentation to just say that, hey, this is cheaper. It's not exactly an apple-to-apple comparison.
Okay.
Not exactly an apple-to-apple comparison. But yes, as a common public, when we actually look at this, then if you just purely compare medical expenses coverage plus the indicative range for premium, I can understand why it doesn't look as attractive.
All right.
Yeah, but I think one part lastly that I just want to add in, right, is I think the game changer comes in when you can pay for this base insurance via your EPF account too. Which means that you don't have to pay out of your own pocket.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that is the game changer there.
It is a game changer. I'm not sure if this is a healthy game changer because as it is, every newspaper report about EPF savings show that Malaysians are not adequately prepared for retirement. So the more you deduct from your EPF savings, whether it's for housing or healthcare insurance and so on, the lesser you have for your retirement. So I'm not so sure. I mean, from the today's problem point of view, it helps because I don't have to take out money out of pocket for health insurance. But for tomorrow's problem, when I retire, I may be worried that we're pushing the problem down the road, creating a different problem down the road. But I think while the insurance prices are indicative and thus, like Code Blue pointed out, maybe it's not so cheap, maybe it's not so great. I think it's yet to be seen what the final prices will be. So maybe if you're just going for apple to apple price comparison, maybe it may not be so much cheaper than the current insurance out there. If after all we are going back to the insurance companies, the same old insurance companies to sell it, because these are not going to be sold by Bank Negara, but these are going to be sold by the insurance companies itself. So I'm not expecting a heaven and earth price change to happen personally. But I think what stood out for me is the fact that it is a game changer from pre-existing conditions. Now, some of the listeners out there, you may not be bothered by pre-existing conditions because if you're healthy, I'm happy for you. And if you're healthy and you're able to go and buy additional insurance today, you will. They will sell you and easily you get into the system. And enough Malaysians are healthy for that. But there's some interesting statistics and that reveals the problem in this country. Obesity is at 54%.
Yep.
And they will struggle to buy insurance. And high blood pressure is at 30%. 30% of Malaysians have high blood pressure. So they will also probably be unable to buy insurance directly from the open market. Diabetes is at 20%. So when you've got a lot of Malaysians suffering comorbidities, this is going to be challenging if the country is going to depend on free market private insurance. And so what Dr. Zul announced, and I hope this translates into a full blanket coverage of those suffering pre-existing conditions, is that those who have pre-existing conditions can buy this plan. Yep. And this will be an absolute game changer in healthcare in this country because people in this group today can't buy. Yep. So people in this group today, if you are not rich enough to afford out-of-pocket hospitalization at private hospitals, you have to wait your turn in government hospitals. No choice.
That's right.
You just have to wait your turn because you cannot buy insurance no matter how much you back them. AIA, Prudential, Great Eastern, they just won't sell to you because you have pre-existing conditions. Yep. So I think this is an absolute game changer. I mean, I take note that in the teaser, it mentions that premiums for people with chronic conditions may be higher due to some risk rating, but they can still buy. I think by and large, we can accept that premiums will be a bit higher. How much higher is yet to be seen, and will there be a limit? Like, okay, if you have high blood pressure to this extent, we can still cover you, but to a certain extent, okay, no, too risky, we cannot cover you. I guess this is to be seen. You got many people who have suffered from heart attack, survived the heart attack, but then after that they cannot get covered anymore. Those who have suffered from cancer, there are enough people in their 30s who have gotten cancer, and so after that they cannot get covered anymore. And so I think this is where this policy will be a game changer. Now, if it was only 3 or 4% of the country that had chronic disease, then maybe you can say this is the minority, this is not a game changer. But I think for a country like Malaysia, where 30% suffer from high blood pressure and 20% suffer from diabetes, this is definitely a game changer.
Yeah. I think another thing that you have highlighted very well as well, other than this pre-existing condition, is the idea that because the government is not going to come out with this insurance, private company need bid for it. I think there's one issue there, right? Imagine I already have my own insurance plan that once I roll this out, it's going to cannibalize the other insurance plan.
For sure it's going to cannibalize.
What do you think I'm going to come up with? Am I going to come up with something that's really going to cannibalize my plan or not, right?
So
now,
this is where Bank Negara needs to really pull its muscle to make it happen.
That's right. Yeah. So that's one. But number two, I think perhaps it's also time to welcome more players to come in. Players who have from overseas or something like that, who actually has a track record of pulling things off in a very different manner that makes it cheap, right? That makes it more accessible, so that you pose a competition out there. Because you think about it, for the longest time, right, we have been when I first joined the insurance industry last time, we used to pay about 200 ringgit a month, and you get about 150,000 coverage a year. Yeah, that was what we got. Then
that was when insurance was maybe not facing the high bills that they are facing today.
2012, 13 time, right?
Correct.
Then here's the interesting thing.
But that was also when insurance was only covering healthy people.
Yeah. 2015, a particular company came on 1 million ringgit coverage annual plan. And from that day onwards, you still pay 200 ringgit but for 1 million coverage. Now, my point is this. If you can give such a high coverage at such a low price suddenly, and last time it's such a high price with such a low coverage, it means that there's a lot of margin to play. Yeah. So I'll leave it up to your imagination.
Okay.
But what am I trying to say is this. I think competition breeds innovation.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think this is a good spot for us to take a break, and we'll be back with something different. I think we're going to touch on transport after the break.
Ooh, your boss. Let's go.
Okay.
Hi, welcome back to the part 2 of Are We OK Season 2. Right, just now we talked about MHIT, we talked about the reformation that's being done in KL City Hall, MBKL. And right now, let's talk about your boss, bro.
All right. Is there any particular news that you have in mind?
No, well, we've just heard about the government subsidizing the M50 Pass, right?
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts about that?
All right. So Anthony announced that the government is subsidizing 100 ringgit for every MHIT pass that is sold. So for those who are not familiar, MHIT is unlimited travel pass across all the MRT, LRTs and buses. And for all Malaysians who choose to buy it, you can use unlimited travel. And what has progressed is that previously it was you need to line up and buy the pass manually. Now you can also buy it on touch and go. And so that's great, improving the convenience that people have to go through to get the pass. But I think what may be a big news is the announcement that government subsidizes 100 ringgit a month for every pass sold. That means a pass is worth 150, you pay 50, government pay 100. That amounts to 1,200 ringgit per person per year. What do you think, Peter?
I have to say that it will make a lot of people very happy. Yeah. I think it's good lah.
Right.
But again, right, I feel like it's quite blanket, quite indiscriminate as well.
Okay.
I feel like if making it a little bit more targeted could be more prudent.
All right. So, yes, currently it's not targeted per se because everyone can buy it. I mean, every
I
Malaysian
can
can
be
buy
earning
it.
20,000 a month and
I would
working
happily
in KLCC.
I would happily subsidize you if you're earning 20,000 a month and you're willing to take the train, and you should record something and put up on your Instagram or Facebook or TikTok that even though you're earning 20,000 a month, you're taking public transport. Okay, but while this number is surprising to some people, it in actual sense it actually amounts to quite a fair bit. It costs the government 250 million ringgit a year to subsidize this travel pass to encourage people to use public transport. I think that's great. The government needs to spend money. Unfortunately, public transport is not profit making. In fact, it has to be loss making in all over the world. If not, it's not going to be attractive. And to put some context, just before people start, criticizing public transport or the subsidy for public transport, the government subsidizes driving a lot as well. The government subsidizes your petrol, in case you've forgotten. The government subsidizes your road usage. The government subsidizes your parking. If there's a free market for parking, you will not pay 60 cents for parking or 50 cents. In fact, in like some places like Subang Jaya, it will not be so cheap if there was a free market price for parking. So all aspects of driving is subsidized. And likewise, in order to level the playing field, there is to be expected subsidies for public transport. So, but Peter, what do you think of this form of subsidy? Do you think that the government should do it in a different way?
Again, my only answer is I feel like it should be more targeted. That's number one.
Okay.
Right? Because I feel that paying 100 ringgit for a regular public transport is fine. Yeah, especially if you're earning very well. I'm not saying totally don't subsidize. I think you should subsidize, but there are some who are poorer, then they deserve a bit more. You can save quite a bit. But number two, I think also there's one more part that they should do that will make it even better.
Yes.
Is take the money after saving it up, build the last mile part of it.
Okay.
Because I think we are quite bad when it comes to the last mile. Yeah, I mean, at the moment you come on the RT station, then so imagine this, right? At the moment you come on the RT station, and then you have no sheltered walkway to any place. At the moment it rains, there's no point of me taking the MRT because I can't even walk over to the station.
All right, understand.
So I feel like these are the things that if, put money to subsidize such buildings, could be much better.
Okay. So I think this brings up a good point. If the government's going to spend money on public transport subsidy, how should it target itself? So on your first comment, I actually am going to be unpopular to say I actually agree with you. I think 50 ringgit is wonderful. It's great. But I think even if we put up the price a little bit, especially for people who are not in the B40 category, 100 ringgit or maybe 80 ringgit, 75 ringgit, it will certainly go a long way to cutting the government subsidy bill. And at the same time, it wouldn't be the disincentive to use public transport.
That's right.
I think for those who are using public transport to go to work every day, whether it's 50 ringgit, 70 ringgit, 80 ringgit, I think they will still buy the pass. And I think it wouldn't hurt them too badly.
Yeah.
But maybe you can keep the 50 ringgit for the B40, like those who are on STR. Those who are on the government STR scheme, maybe they can buy it at 50 ringgit. Those who are not on the STR scheme, could be 80 ringgit, 100 ringgit.
Or even subsidize them more, 20 ringgit.
Yeah, it could be more. Right. It wouldn't hurt the ridership. I mean, if someone is earning 8,000 ringgit a month, not on STR, I think whether he takes the car or he takes the public transport has got 50 other criteria before the 50 ringgit.
That's right.
I think the 50 ringgit is not going to make or break it.
That's right.
For him. So I agree with you. Even though I'm going to be unpopular, a politician saying that it's okay to increase prices. But the other flip side to this is the financial model. You see, with the model that, and this is maybe my suggestion for the government, with the model of paying 100 ringgit to Prasarana for every pass that is sold. So if Prasarana sells 100,000 passes, then the government will pay 100 million ringgit to Prasarana. 10 million ringgit to Prasarana. 100 ringgit times the passes that are sold. So every time Prasarana sells more transport passes, more people use the public transport, it costs the government more money. And it got me thinking that maybe this may not be the best way to pay Prasarana. Prasarana is already going to run at a loss. Should it be getting subsidy in this manner, or should it be getting subsidy in another manner? So when I look around the world, there is another method for which the government can subsidize Prasarana that may be more efficient in delivering the results. And actually that is the model that MPPJ has used to pay for its free bus. You know that PJ is running the free buses for more than 10 years now?
Yeah.
I think coming into 12 years. So what PJ does is it contracts out the bus performance. All right, and this is a similar thing that Singapore does as well, and a number of other countries in the world. It pays the operator, okay, you got 5 operators, all of you give me your price, give me your quotation. How much would you charge me to operate 10 buses a day on this route? And so all the operators will bid in their price. So PJ, like Penang, pay 800 ringgit a bus a day to Prasarana to operate the service. With the KPI is, I want the bus every 15 minutes. And so with this, suddenly the operator changes their mind frame, because I need to run the bus on time to get my full payment. If I don't meet my KPI, minus 5%. Further don't meet my KPI, minus 10%. So the incentive now is, I want to run the service well, because I want my full payment. And I think this is the crux to improving public transport in KL.
That's a good one.
Because if Prasarana is paid based on on-time performance, I believe their buses will run much more on schedule.
Yeah, I think you'll see less breakdown.
You'll see less breakdown. And yes, they have an incentive to make sure the buses are in good condition, because all the breakdown incurs penalty.
That's right.
Yeah, so this is a performance contract. So if the government pays Prasarana on a performance contract, so we don't care how many pass you sell. In fact, the government can pay Prasarana the amount for running the service, and in return, all the sale, 50 ringgit pass, or maybe in the future 80 ringgit pass, it goes back to the government, because the government already paid for the service upfront. That, I believe, will see the result that you see in Singapore and the result that you see in PJ. If you look at PJ, the PJ free bus, PJ01, PJ02, quite a lot of ridership. There is a lot of people riding the bus. And it is, to me, nothing to do with the 90-cent fare that PJ charges for the bus. Oh, 90 cent is cheap. How much is expensive? How much is cheap? I think for most bus users, the fare is not the criteria.
True.
It is, do I need to wait 45 minutes in the bus stop for the bus?
True.
Or do I know if the bus say is coming at this time, it will really come?
True.
And so what I would like to suggest out there is that, yes, I mean, I totally and absolutely welcome the subsidy and the increasing subsidy, as the monthly pass has gone up from last time 100,000 to now 200,000 users. I welcome the subsidy. But maybe, just maybe, we can channel the subsidy in a different way that will further encourage more people to use public transport. Yeah.
I think if I'm not wrong, that particular subsidy method, if I'm not wrong and I recall correctly, actually is what they do with TNB as well. Yeah, you got to make sure that your power grid is up all the time. Yeah. So and that's why if you actually notice, when you dial 15454, they come immediately, very, very fast, very, very responsive, right?
Yeah.
Because it's all about efficiency. So I think that's a very good suggestion. And number 2, I still think that another thing that will affect it is also the last mile.
Okay.
Yeah, because we do a better last mile,
Yeah.
people are more willing to take the public transport.
Yes,
Because right now
yes.
it's like,
So, okay, maybe out of the subsidy, healthy amount of subsidy that is being given, but maybe we can also channel 20 million of subsidy towards improving the last mile, improving the walkability.
I think the shade's not an expensive one.
And maybe that 20 million a year will slowly result in a very walkable KL after 10 years.
Right. That's right.
All right. Okay, so now that we have done with this, and since you mentioned electricity, I think we should jump to another story. That was an interesting article that appeared about how Sabah and Sarawak switched on their power grid. So, Peter, just to give a bit of context, there recently was a ceremony where there was a transmission line between Sabah and Sarawak. Believe it or not, there wasn't one before this. All right, that connected the power grid of Sabah and Sarawak together to enable Sarawak to sell electricity to Sabah.
Yep.
And this is part of the larger ASEAN power grid, where the 11 countries in ASEAN are slowly being connected from one country to another to enable power to flow from one country to another and to allow power sale to also happen. Like from Laos, power is being sold to Singapore through Thailand and Malaysia. Malaysia and Singapore have been selling power to each other. Semenanjung, Malaysia and Singapore have been selling power to each other for some time. Sarawak has been selling power to Kalimantan for some time, but now only recently connected to Sabah. So, Peter, do you have any thoughts on this?
Well, I thought it was fantastic because if you actually look at the power, in terms of power, electricity generation, Sarawak is rich in that, man.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's the place with the cheapest electricity, right? Yeah, so yeah, use it to benefit other people, lah. Yeah, because it will also invite or it will usher in a lot more industry, because I think one of the main complaints for a lot of people when it comes to Sabah is the instability of their electricity.
Yes, correct. Yes. That is a very big complaint.
Yeah, so I think with this, hopefully it will improve Sabah's economics as well.
Yeah. So one of the things that we always hear if you pay attention to the electricity market is talking about building the Sarawak to Semenanjung connection cable to bring the Bakun electricity here. So Bakun is a huge dam that has a huge power generation capacity that Sarawak can hardly consume. And there also saw a lot of other dams being developed at the same time. So Sarawak has a huge excess capacity of cheap power.
That's right.
And this has helped attract aluminium smelters and other heavy industries to Bintulu. But it is also a waste that this cheap power doesn't benefit the rest of the country. And one of the problems that Sabah face is that their average cost of generating power is around 45 cents. So actually every time Sabah sells electricity to its houses, its factories and its shops, it's losing money. And it's not a very sustainable model. That is why it's difficult to maintain the grip. And so I think this is good that the connection has finally been made, even though Bakun is already 15 years in operation. Better late than never. But I would also maybe urge both Sabah and Sarawak government to step up the connection, because the current connection is only 30 megawatt, which is very small by Sabah's power consumption level. And if it increases to 300 to 500 megawatt, it would definitely help bridge the gap of what Sabah needs from a power supply point of view. And it's going to be cheaper because Sarawak's electricity is a lot cheaper. It will lower costs. Now the thing is whether egos get in the way of having to Big Brother. It's not Big Brother, it's just neighborly. Each neighbor has an advantage, and import and export is the way the world works. And so I think it's actually good that they import more electricity from Sarawak to lower their costs and get a more stable supply of electricity.
That's good. We'll see how it goes from here. Waiting to hear the news.
All right. So shall we take a break before we go to our final segment?
Oh yeah.
All right. See you in a minute.
Hey, welcome back to the part 3 of Are We Okay Season 2 together with myself, Peter, and...
me, Rajiv.
Alright, Rajiv. So just now we talked about quite a few things, and now let's talk about Barbie pork.
Alright, Peter. So what's up with pork?
I was just waiting to say that word Barbie. Anyway.
I think 2 years of doing this Are We Okay, and you just can't wait for a day like this.
No. When you talk about pork, this is an issue of concern for many non-Muslims in the state. Many people felt that is our rights as a non-Muslim being threatened or not being taken care of.
Yes.
Now, I guess the first thing here is to ask you, because you're from DAP, right? And many people felt that DAP does have a strong representation for the non-Bumi population. And I think there are a lot of people who are wondering, hey, is DAP going to do anything? Why not you explain or either share with us, what do you think DAP is doing?
Okay, so I think this is definitely a difficult situation to navigate. It started off with the protest by the pig farmers in Tanjung Sepat, but then it courted the attention and the comments from the Sultan. And I think once you get the comments, public comments from Sultan, it becomes a tricky thing to navigate when you are in government. It's one thing when you're in opposition, but now you notice it's not only one party quiet, it's across the board.
Party quiet.
Yes, because when royalty speaks up, everyone takes a very careful step forward. in what to deal with. And so I definitely can understand the sentiment that you feel like, why is our way of life being trampled upon? Why is our way of life being called into question? And it also leads to the fear that pork prices may go up. And Peter, maybe, as a Chinese, how much do you share these sentiments?
Oh, I've even before this Selangor thing, I already felt very sad about pork prices. Yeah, it's been very uncontrolled. I think those of you who buy pork, you know how crazy expensive it is. And maybe I think it's where I would say that, like, when it comes to the land part, I think, like what you say, is a tricky situation. Yes, some people can choose to speak up, but I think this kind of situation you better tread carefully, because if you make it worse, it gets worse.
Yes.
Right? You don't want to turn into 3R issue and stuff like that, and it just gets worse. So tread carefully. That's my opinion of it.
Indeed.
Yeah.
So I think on one hand, our DAP Deputy Minister for Agriculture, Datuk Chan Fong Hin, not only assured the public that pork prices won't go up, but I think that in itself maybe will not cause much comfort. But also program to give between 5 to 20% discounts was just launched a couple of days ago by himself, Yobin, and a number of other DAP representatives that were there to show that, the concern about price of pork is real, is there, and action is being taken, and efforts are being put to reduce the price of pork in the immediate, like in terms of the next few days as we lead up to Chinese New Year. So, as we are recording this just a few days away from Chinese New Year, to ensure that the supply is enough and that the prices remain where it is, or a bit cheaper. But, Peter, many times off camera, we have brought up this pork cartel. I think this is the chance for you to come.
Oh, okay.
What do you think? Is the problem of the price a matter of the pig farms, a shortage of pigs in Selangor, or a shortage of pigs in Malaysia? Or is it possibly more than that? And maybe if in the interest of a healthy supply of pork, what should we be really looking at?
So there's always been rumors about these kind of things, right? And but for me, let's not talk about rumors. Let's just talk about price of pork.
Okay.
Regardless of whether there was an issue of Selangor banning pig farm, price of pork has been increasing like crazy. Okay, yeah, like doubling, like every doubling the count. Okay, I may be a bit exaggerating and say every year doubling.
Okay.
But it's not that far from exaggeration. That's how bad it is, right? Now, and surprisingly, after doing some digging, we just found that Malaysia actually has the most expensive pork in the world. Like, okay, maybe not in the world.
Not the most
region,
expensive in the world.
ASEAN region, right?
Yeah.
We're the most expensive. I think you have a list there, right?
I do
Would
have
you
a
like
list.
to share with
Okay,
us?
so the price of pork in Malaysia now hovers between 30-something to 40-something ringgit a kilo. If you want to say most expensive in the world, everyone's going to throw Singapore back in your face lah.
Yep.
Because Singapore is a bit more expensive, around 50 to 70 ringgit a kilo after conversion. But it's Singapore.
But they earn 3 times more.
They earn 3 times more. But
So
it's Singapore.
by percentage of... Yeah.
But so let's say we put aside the earn 3 times more. But look at what else happens in the rest of the world. Thailand is between 20 to 25 ringgit a kilo. Comparable with the rest of Malaysia. Should have no reason why Malaysia is pricey. And it leads me to wonder, is the direction and the assurance of the government that more import license will be granted to import pork maybe a solution to bringing down the prices of pork if the price of pork in Thailand is between 20 to 25 ringgit. America, USA, 25 to 30 ringgit. Cheaper than Malaysia. You talk about dollar in Singapore, America dollar more powerful than Singapore, but still, you're talking about $658 USD a kilo. That works out to this 25 to 30 ringgit a kilo. Australia is similar price with Malaysia. Japan is also similar price with Malaysia, despite these two countries being, just generally more expensive all round.
Right.
Similar price. So that's the similar price. What about the more drastically cheaper one? China, 15 ringgit a kilo.
Okay.
Canada, 20 to 25 ringgit a kilo. Even Hong Kong is like, 40 something ringgit. Just you would think once again the cost
40
of
something
living.
ringgit.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think the other ones that we also want to look at is like Vietnam, 12 to 13 ringgit a kilo, Brazil 10 to 15 ringgit a kilo, Spain between 18 to 25 ringgit a kilo. A lot of numbers out there, but I think enough to show that pork prices in Malaysia a bit on the high side, isn't it?
Yes. So here's where I was thinking, right? Maybe instead of I mean, it reveals a deeper part of it. I know the whole thing is about the rights of non-Muslims felt unfair and stuff like that. But I think the deeper issue as a rakyat generally, what I care is my cost of living, right? And I feel that maybe if you open up more license to import fresh pork, right, from Thailand, it could even be cheaper than that, right? Because bulk cheaper, and Thailand is not that far.
Yeah.
Probably 1 day drive, you can drive it down, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So it can still be quite fresh.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we have fish coming all the way from say Sabah in 1 day, right?
Yeah.
All those kind of things.
Yeah.
So,
Sabah is further than Thailand.
yeah. so I personally think that yes, I feel bad for the pork farmers, but when it comes to cost, of people buying pork, is maybe it's more viable to buy from imported.
Yeah, understand.
I mean, I went to Thailand and had pork. I think it tastes the same. So
Okay. So yeah, I mean, if you unpack it, if we unpack it, segment by segment, I think the first and foremost is supply is key.
Yep.
There must be supply. I think we cannot and never must allow a situation where markets and supermarkets run short of supply. Okay, so I think that is the most basic thing that the government needs to deliver. Whether pig farming in Selangor is allowed or not, pig farming in Perak is going on, pig farming in Sabah, Sarawak is going on. Import has already happened, and import looks like will continue to grow. And in fact, Selangor apparently is very small, like 5% or less of the pork market in the country. Supply is key.
Yep.
I think this is where our agriculture ministry needs to ensure that the supply is always there. Then comes the second part, price. Price is also key. Even though supply is there, price should never be allowed to rise further. I think, Peter, you've said it, despite homegrown pigs, prices have continued to go up. So maybe the solution now is, more import until our farmers can find a way to grow a pig more economically. Or maybe it's true. Maybe there is a price collusion. So maybe there is a price collusion that's leading to higher prices of pork in Malaysia. Maybe there is, maybe there's not. But import is definitely one way. And now that the doors to importing is quite sealed open, with what has happened in the last 1 week, I look forward to pork prices coming down. All right.
Yes.
So if pork prices
Cheaper
come
pork.
down, I think most people can be happy with the overall outcome.
yeah.
And then the third thing is the right to rare pigs lah. And I think maybe we let this issue. Maybe it is unfortunate that this came to this boiling point, but definitely some comments that I've heard from the inside is that even pig farmers all across the country say that Tanjong Sepat is the worst, the most polluting, the worst run pig farm you can find.
Really.
Yes, and I think it's very unfortunate that wasn't resolved, that it didn't convert into modern pig farming earlier, where it doesn't result in pig waste flowing out of the farm into the river, doesn't pollute the environment, it doesn't affect the neighborhoods around it. And so it's quite unfortunate, but we'll see I think we'll have to wait and see what happens on that front. But in the meantime, the first two factors must be dealt with so that by and large, people's lives and cost of living are not affected.
That's right.
All right. What do you think, Peter? That's the way forward?
I think I don't support dirty farm. That's number one. Number two, I just want cheaper pork, man. That's about it.
Indeed.
I think from all these years of looking at how the market works, if the price of pork were to go up, it will never come down no matter what problem you solve. I've not seen the auntie opposite my office selling wonton mee
Yeah.
dropping down a price
Yeah.
when price of gas went down, or sugar price went down, or other things went down. Veggie became cheaper.
Yeah.
None. It has never dropped before.
All right. Okay. And let's look forward to that. And so I think we'll definitely be keeping an eye on this issue in the weeks and months to come to see where it's at. And maybe to wrap up the episode for today is one final story on electric vehicles. All right, Peter, you're a fan of some of the EVs, I hear.
Oh yeah.
What's your favorite?
I own a Tesla, of course. Yeah. I think the iCar looks sexy. Yeah. Actually, another one that I really like is actually the Volvo electric.
Really?
Oh, sweet, right?
Okay.
Really beautiful. I think Volvo these days look very. It doesn't have that, like, last time it used to be an old man car, right? Today it's a much more
young man car. Or maybe you are getting older. And now it appeals to you. You're not so young anymore.
It's more like a quiet taste car.
A quiet taste.
Yeah, I think most people drive Volvo. They like it or don't like it.
So what do you think? Peter is now the boss man.
Don't
and then now driving the boss car.
No money, man. They give me 0% interest. That's why I bought it.
All right. But anyway, there was an announcement that there is a limitation as Malaysia moves towards encouraging local assembly, as they've done with petrol cars.
That's right.
There was a rule that was recently introduced that minimum price for importing CBU, completely imported EVs, would increase to 250,000.
Yep.
Previously, it was 100,000 ringgit. So, 100,000, okay, the logic is very clear. Protect Perdua and Proton. So, you cannot import 40,000 ringgit cars, 50,000 ringgit cars.
Yep.
You can only import cars 100,000 ringgit and above. But now with the increase from 100,000 to 250,000, no doubt it will promote and incentivize local assembly of EVs for the big boys. And BYD would be one of those who would be assembling it here. So you've got maybe your EMAS 7 and your EMAS 5 and your BYDs and Perdua. I'm not sure if Perdua will take off as well as Proton did. But, okay, on paper, you encourage local assembly. But what do you think, Peter?
What do I think? I think what happened is that you're gonna have less choices, yeah. And is it good? Is it bad? Well, think about it. Suddenly your Sea Lion is, unless assembled locally,
Not possible.
then it's not possible. So
Maybe the Sea Lion might be assembled locally because BYD.
I think
is
BYD
capacity.
will just assemble everything locally.
I think you're absolutely spot on there. That is the problem. That one of the things that we have seen with the EV market that we have not seen with the petrol market is the wide variety of choices.
That's right.
In the last 2 years. Suddenly, all kinds of brands that you've never heard of in the world open on showroom, even if they can only sell 50 cars, 20 cars, 100 cars, open and sell because there wasn't a restriction on importing
That's right.
EVs. But with this local assembly, you need a minimum quantity to make it economical to locally assemble the cars. Maybe it's not really a technological problem to locally assembly, it's just a matter of scale. Like, Toyota, Honda, they all local assemble because they got scale. But once you bring in niche models that only sell 20 units a year, you can't do that. And so I think that might be something that is a trade-off for the country. On one hand, you want to promote industry to create jobs. On the other hand, I think we would lose out in customer choice. And as we grow to a high income, I think this customer choice is something a lot of Malaysians have grown to appreciate.
Yeah. I think this will come down to which lens you want to look at it from. From an industry standpoint and a skill-based standpoint, yes, I think it does promote local EV industry and so on. So it could create much more job opportunity and stuff like that. Higher skill level. But yeah, you're right. Suddenly now, if you want to buy Xpeng, it's going to be much more expensive. You want to get a, say, iCar, whatnot.
One thing is more expensive, but another thing is might not be possible. Especially you're talking about EVs in the 150 to 200,000 range.
I mean, I'm not going to bring in a 100K EV and sell it here at 250, right? No one's going to buy that.
Yeah.
So, anything outside of this few, you can only afford the luxurious ones.
So maybe part of me feels like, okay, while I understand the logic, it's a bit sad. And maybe it's time to consider that.
To buy a CBU EV?
to buy a CBV, I think you quickly buy one before it's too late. But maybe it's also time to consider that maybe this incentive to localize jobs, what is the actual trade-off? And how many Malaysian jobs are being created? And I think if MHIT can come forward with these numbers to justify the policy to cut down jobs, then maybe that would be nice, nice to hear. But if not, if it really doesn't create that much additional jobs, I think it might be good to not go down this road. Not too late to reverse this policy in order to give more choices.
Yeah, that's a good one.
more choices to people, because that's the whole hallmark of being a developed country, isn't it?
Yep.
We're no longer factory workers and purely factory workers.
Yep.
We're not where we were in the 70s and 80s, where it was paramount to create jobs. It was paramount to bring in factories here, and that was the only way upwards. Now, the economy is largely on the service sector, and don't get me, I'm not discounting jobs, but I think we also want the quality of life that comes with choice.
So hopefully we get some published statistics on what we're looking at in terms of value brought in.
All right.
Okay. Thank you very much, everyone.
Yeah, let's bring this to a wrap. Wishing everyone a happy Chinese New Year.
恭喜发财.
And drive safe, eat safe, be healthy,
See you
and
guys
have a good time.
next time.
All right.